For more than 1,000 years, the world we live in today has been shaped quietly, profoundly, and often invisibly by the contributions of Muslims. Yet most people grow up never hearing this story. They are taught that human progress suddenly woke up in Europe during the Renaissance, as if nothing valuable existed before it. But history, real history, tells a very different truth. Long before Europe experienced its scientific awakening, the Muslim world was building institutions, ideas, technologies, and systems that became the foundation of the modern age. And for centuries, Europe openly studied these achievements, translated them, adopted them, and even taught them in their own universities for 500 years before eventually erasing the Muslim names and crediting the discoveries to themselves. The world's first true hospitals, in the modern sense, clean, organized, staffed, and free for all, were established by Muslims. The Bimaristans of Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo had wards separated by disease, pharmacies stocked with medicines, surgical rooms, recovery rooms, teaching centers, and written patient records. They treated mental health with compassion at a time when Europe treated the mentally ill with exorcisms and chains. Muslim physicians like Al-Razi wrote detailed texts on smallpox and measles. Ibn Sina's Canon of Medicine became the standard medical book in European universities for almost 600 years, and surgeons like Al-Zarawi invented tools that a modern doctor would still recognize today: scissors, forceps, bone saws, needles, catgut stitches, and over 200 surgical instruments. The first universities in the world were also Muslim creations. Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco, founded by a Muslim woman, Fatima al-Fihri, and Al-Azhar in Egypt, became models of structured higher education with degrees, faculties, and a formal curriculum. These ideas later inspired Europe's earliest universities such as Bologna and Oxford. Students in Europe studied translated Arabic texts on philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and engineering, not for a few years, but for centuries. Many of the Greek texts people associate with the European Renaissance survived only because Muslims preserved and improved them in massive libraries, like the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Mathematics as we know it today is deeply Islamic. Algebra was invented by Al-Khwarizmi, whose very name gave us the word algorithm, the foundation of computer science. He developed the use of zero, decimal numbers, and systematic ways to solve equations. Without these contributions, there would be no advanced engineering, no modern finance, no coding, no artificial intelligence. Trigonometry was expanded by Muslim mathematicians to map the earth, calculate prayer times, and measure the distance between stars. Even the introduction of Arabic numerals, the numbers we use every single day, came through the Muslim world to Europe. Astronomy flourished in the Muslim world, while Europe believed the Earth was the immovable center of the universe. Muslim astronomers built observatories, star charts, celestial globes, and sophisticated instruments like the astrolabe and quadrant. They calculated the Earth's circumference with astonishing accuracy, discovered star positions still used today, and developed theories that later helped European scientists challenge the limitations of their old worldview. Ibn al-Shatir, a 14th century Syrian astronomer, produced planetary models that closely resembled those later credited to Copernicus. Europeans studied these Muslim models, absorbed them into their own work, and the Muslim origin eventually disappeared from the history books. Even something as common as coffee began as a Muslim discovery. Coffee was first brewed in Yemen by Sufi Muslims, who used it to stay awake during nightly worship and dhikr. The drink spread across the Muslim world long before reaching Europe, where it caused such a sensation that Europeans called it the Muslim drink. Venetian merchants brought it to Italy in the 1600s, but its Islamic origins were gradually forgotten in mainstream education when coffee reached Europe from the Muslim world. Some clergy called it the devil's drink, and the Pope was urged to ban it. But after tasting it himself, he declared it harmless and even joked that it should be baptized, turning a so-called satanic drink into a Christian-approved one. Legend has it that Pope Clement VIII, after tasting what many had condemned as a Satan's drink, reportedly said, "This Satan's drink is so delicious that it would be a pity to let the infidels have exclusive use of it. We shall cheat Satan by baptizing it." The Muslim world also contributed profoundly to optics, chemistry, architecture, geography, engineering, and navigation. Ibn al-Haytham, the father of optics, proved that vision works when light enters the eye, a breakthrough Europe had never achieved before. He created the scientific method centuries before Francis Bacon was born, insisting on experimentation, observation, and proof. Jabir ibn Hayyan laid the foundations of modern chemistry with laboratory techniques still used today, including distillation and crystallization. Muslim engineers built water clocks, automatic machines, crankshafts, and early forms of robotics described by the brilliant Banu Musa brothers and Al-Jazari. Maps created by Muslim geographers guided European explorers through Africa and Asia. Even the concept of a city hospital, a public library, a diploma, and a systematic scientific experiment came through the Muslim world. And for more than 500 years, Europe openly acknowledged this. Universities in Italy, France, Spain, and England had Arabic works in their syllabi. Students memorized texts by Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, Al-Razi, and Al-Zahrawi. Libraries in Europe were full of translations from Arabic, Latinized, with names like Avicenna, Averroes, Rhazes, and Algorithmi. But as Europe grew stronger, politically, militarily, and economically, and as Muslim empires weakened, a new narrative emerged. This narrative removed Muslim names, minimized Muslim influence, and portrayed Europe as the sole birthplace of science, medicine, mathematics, and rational thought. The contributions of over 1,000 years of Islamic civilization were pushed out of textbooks, replaced with a version of history that celebrated European achievements while ignoring the very foundations those achievements were built on.